In the fast-paced, ever-noisy world we live in today, silence can feel like an unfamiliar luxury, even a source of discomfort. We are constantly surrounded by conversations, notifications, and endless chatter externally and within our own minds. Yet, within this cacophony lies a powerful antidote to stress, misunderstanding, and disconnection: the practice of mindful silence. Drawing upon timeless Buddhist stories, this narrative explores how silence serves as a profound tool for self-discovery, inner peace, and transformative growth. From the journeys of talkative disciples to the unwavering meditative practice of Bodhidharma, each story reveals that silence is not an empty void, but a sacred space where we confront ourselves, cultivate compassion, and deepen our connection to the world around us. Let us delve into these tales and reflections, discovering how the wisdom of silence can guide us on our own paths toward enlightenment. Silence is often misunderstood in a world dominated by noise. It is perceived as a void, an absence, or even a sign of weakness. Yet, for those who embark on a journey of self-discovery, silence becomes a sacred space where profound transformation takes place. In a quiet village, a famous Buddhist teacher guided a disciple through the depths of such a journey, illustrating the mysterious and transformative power of silence. This story, rooted in Buddhist teachings, holds timeless lessons for us all. The disciple, known for his incessant talking, was the subject of much chatter among his peers. He spoke without pause, sharing stories from every house he visited, often elevating himself by diminishing others. He believed himself to be superior, frequently boasting of his sacrifices and noble intentions. Yet, his words, intended to establish his greatness, only created division and fueled his ego. Recognizing the harm in the disciple's behavior, the wise guru offered him a unique challenge: a vow of complete silence for 1 month. The disciple, convinced of his own strength, eagerly accepted, viewing the task as beneath his abilities. Little did he know, the real challenge lay ahead, not in silencing his voice, but in quieting the chaos within his mind. First, the disciple found silence simple. For a day, he reveled in his quietude, considering it a trivial task. By the second day, the weight of unspoken thoughts grew heavy. The chatter in his mind became louder, and the urge to speak burned within him. Every interaction with his fellow disciples heightened his frustration. He longed to respond, to assert himself, but his vow held him back. By the fourth day, his restlessness became overwhelming. Unable to bear the silence, he fell ill, both physically and mentally. He approached the guru, begging to be released from his vow. The guru, with a compassionate smile, reminded him that resolutions are not imposed, they are chosen. Breaking the vow would mean returning to his old ways, but persevering would lead to inner strength. Humbled by the guru's words, the disciple retreated to his hut, determined to complete his vow. Days passed, and he faced the relentless noise within. Old grievances, judgments, and fears echoed in his mind. He realized that true silence was not the absence of speech, but the quieting of internal turmoil. Seeking peace, he left the ashram for the solitude of the forest. There, surrounded by nature's whispers, he confronted the storm within. Initially, the voices grew louder, memories of past conflicts, regrets, and unspoken words resurfaced. He wrestled with his own mind, feeling as though he were losing himself. Over time, however, a shift occurred. The voices began to fade. In the stillness of the forest, he experienced moments of profound clarity. He noticed the rustling leaves, the gentle breeze, the melodic songs of birds, all sounds he had never truly heard before. The silence within mirrored the peace around him. For the first time, he understood the meaning of true quietude, not merely the absence of noise, but a state of deep awareness and connection with the present moment. When the disciple finally returned to the ashram, he was unrecognizable. Gone was the restless, boastful man. In his place stood someone calm, deliberate, and profoundly at peace. His words, once scattered and self-serving, were now measured and compassionate. His fellow disciples marveled at the change, sensing the depth of his transformation. When he approached the Guru and asked if his vow of silence was still in effect, the Guru gazed deeply into his eyes and confirmed that, indeed, true silence had been achieved not merely in speech, but in his entire being. This story offers us a powerful lesson on the nature of silence. In our modern lives, we often fill every moment with noise, whether through constant talking, endless scrolling, or mental chatter. We fear silence because it forces us to confront ourselves. Yet, it is in these moments of quiet reflection that we can truly hear our inner voice and find clarity. Silence allows us to step back, observe our thoughts without judgment, and reconnect with what truly matters. Consider a modern example. A business executive named Jane, overwhelmed by the demands of her career, chose to disconnect for a week in a remote cabin. First, she struggled with the absence of emails, meetings, and noise, but as the days passed, she discovered a newfound sense of peace. She heard the wind rustling through trees, felt the warmth of the sun, and reflected on her life's direction. Like the disciple, Jane returned transformed, with greater focus and intention in her interactions. Silence also transforms our relationships. In moments of conflict, choosing to remain silent can prevent escalation and allow space for empathy. When we listen more and speak less, we connect more deeply with those around us. Our words carry greater weight when used with purpose. The disciple's journey reminds us that words are powerful. They can heal or harm, build bridges or walls. Speaking with intention and mindfulness creates harmony, while idle chatter and criticism breed division. The practice of mindful silence invites us to reflect before we speak and to listen deeply to others. By doing so, we cultivate inner peace and create more meaningful connections. As we navigate life's challenges, let us remember the disciple's journey. Silence is not an empty void, but a space for growth, healing, and profound transformation. It is a reminder that true strength lies not in speaking endlessly, but in the courage to be still, to listen, and to truly understand. May we all find moments of silence in our daily lives and use them to deepen our connection with ourselves and the world around us. The transformative power of silence explored in the story of the disciple is only one among many profound teachings found in Buddhist tradition. The journey toward inner stillness and self-awareness is a recurring theme, as countless practitioners have found enlightenment through embracing silence, solitude, and mindful reflection. This path invites us to step beyond superficial noise and confront the deeper truths within ourselves, offering lessons that resonate across cultures and generations. Continuing in this spirit, we will delve into more stories that illustrate the power of mindfulness, silence, and self-mastery, shedding light on the richness of Buddhist wisdom. One of the most celebrated stories in Buddhism is that of Bodhidharma, the founder of Zen, Chan Buddhism in China. Bodhidharma is revered not only for his teachings on meditation and mindfulness, but also for his profound dedication to silence and inner contemplation. According to tradition, Bodhidharma traveled from India to China to spread the Buddha's teachings. However, he faced resistance from those who were skeptical of his unconventional approach. Rather than engaging in arguments or seeking to prove himself with words, Bodhidharma chose silence as his response. For 9 years, Bodhidharma sat in deep meditation facing a wall at Shaolin Monastery, symbolizing unwavering focus and inner stillness. This act of silence was not a retreat from the world, but a demonstration of the transformative potential of stillness. It was a statement that true wisdom arises not from endless debate, but from direct experience and self-realization. Bodhidharma's silence taught his disciples that enlightenment is not something one can acquire from another's words. It is a deeply personal journey that requires turning inward. His silence spoke volumes, eventually attracting followers who were inspired by his example and ready to embrace meditation as a path to awakening. In the same vein, the story of Mahakassapa, one of the Buddha's closest disciples, illustrates the power of understanding without words. Mahakassapa is remembered for the moment when the Buddha gave a silent sermon by holding up a single lotus flower. Among the gathered disciples, only Mahakassapa smiled, signaling his deep understanding of the unspoken truth. This moment, often referred to as the flower sermon, is considered the origin of Zen Buddhism, highlighting the value of intuitive insight that transcends verbal expression. The smile of Mahakassapa reminds us that some truths are beyond words and can only be grasped through direct experience and inner realization. Another story that resonates deeply is that of Venerable Thich Quang Duc, a Vietnamese Mahayana Buddhist monk who, in 1963, performed one of the most profound acts of silent protest against the oppressive regime in Vietnam. Thich Quang Duc immolated himself in silence on a busy street in Saigon, remaining perfectly still and composed as flames engulfed him. His act of self-immolation was not born of hatred but of a deep, compassionate plea for change and religious freedom. His silence spoke louder than any words could, shaking the world and highlighting the suffering and injustice faced by Buddhists in Vietnam. The image of his serene composure amid such a powerful act serves as a reminder of the strength that comes from inner peace and unshakable resolve. Moving from historical figures to timeless parables, the story of the two monks and the woman at the river offers a practical reflection on the power of letting go, a key aspect of achieving true silence within. In this story, two Buddhist monks traveling together reached a river with a strong current. A young woman stood at the edge, unable to cross. The older monk offered to carry her across, despite the monastic vow prohibiting physical contact with women. He placed her down on the other side, and they continued their journey. Hours passed in silence, but the younger monk grew increasingly agitated. Finally, unable to hold back, he confronted the older monk. "How could you carry that woman? You know it is against our vows." The older monk replied calmly, "I put the woman down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This story highlights the burden of clinging to judgments, memories, and internal chatter. While the older monk had moved on, the younger monk's mind was still tangled in the past, unable to find peace. This reflects our own struggles with mental noise, the stories and judgments we replay over and over in our minds, preventing us from being fully present. The lessons of Buddhism continually emphasize the importance of mindfulness, awareness, and silence, not as a mere absence of noise, but as a path to true liberation. In our modern world, we can learn much from these stories and teachings. When faced with conflict, we can practice mindful silence, listening deeply instead of reacting impulsively. In moments of overwhelm, we can seek solitude, even if only for a brief pause, to reconnect with ourselves and regain clarity. Through this practice, we cultivate not only inner peace but also compassion, understanding, and the wisdom to respond skillfully to life's challenges. Incorporating these teachings into our lives requires commitment, patience, and courage. The story of the talkative disciple reminds us that the journey to inner silence is not easy. It is a process of confronting our own ego, fears, and judgments. It is a journey of letting go of the need to prove ourselves, to be right, and to control the narrative. Instead, it invites us to listen, observe, and allow space for genuine understanding to emerge. Let us not forget the example of the Buddha himself, who attained enlightenment after years of ascetic practice and meditation beneath the Bodhi tree. In the moment of his awakening, silence enveloped him not as emptiness, but as profound awareness and connection with all that is. The Buddha's silence became the source of boundless compassion and wisdom, guiding millions on the path to liberation. In this way, the power of silence in Buddhism is not an escape but a return to our true nature, to the present moment, and to the interconnectedness of all life. It teaches us that by quieting the mind, we can hear the subtle truths that guide us toward peace and enlightenment. Through stories, meditation, and mindful living, we too can unlock the mysterious and transformative power of silence, discovering its profound impact on every aspect of our lives. The journey through these stories of Buddhist silence and mindfulness illuminates a timeless truth. Within the quiet, we find our greatest strength and deepest wisdom. Silence is not merely the absence of words, but a space where we can truly hear the whispers of our own hearts and the truths that lie beneath the surface of daily life. Whether it is the resolute stillness of Bodhidharma, the transformative awakening of the talkative disciple, or the compassionate silence of Thich Quang Duc, each narrative reminds us that the practice of mindful silence leads to clarity, empathy, and profound self-awareness. Incorporating the lessons of these stories into our lives requires courage and dedication. We must confront our restless minds, release our attachments to the past, and cultivate the art of listening both to ourselves and to others. By doing so, we create space for genuine understanding and meaningful connections. The path of silence is not always easy, but it is one that leads to greater harmony, purpose, and inner peace. As you reflect on these teachings, consider where silence might serve you in your own life. In moments of conflict, can you pause and listen with an open heart? In times of stress, can you step away and find solace within stillness? And in the hustle of everyday life, can you create moments of quiet reflection to reconnect with your true self? Embrace the power of silence, and you may discover that the answers you seek have been waiting patiently within you all along. May your journey toward mindful silence bring you peace, understanding, and the wisdom to navigate life with compassion and grace.